Phantom Thieves. Phantom Thieves. This is what you've left behind.
What the hell are you talking about? Ryuji shouted. We didn't cause this! Joker, am I missing something here? Akira didn't answer. He stared at the hole, mesmerized.
When the demiurge fell, so too did the fortress of indolence. Empty hope in an empty world. We placed our trust in society to see us through. You broke that faith and called it good. The truth became plain to see. The future we were promised would never come. All that waited for us was ruin. Above is all that remains of our hope. Tomorrow is broken. Tomorrow is nowhere.
That's not true! An cried. Mementos didn't offer anyone anything, Shimizu. It was just full of people sitting around and waiting for the end. There wasn't any future in that either.
There was never any future at all. All that existed was the delusion, the petty pace, the day-to-day, the endless routine, the tedious pantomime. The labyrinth rippled and bulged. People going to work and coming home and going to bed and waking up and on and on and on, blind in that faith that tomorrow will follow today. That script persists even after the demiurges fall. But despite their performance, everyone knows the truth. The holes within and without. Look above. Come and see. Even in the sea of souls, this hole makes itself known. The chains tighten. The despair grows. The world will unmask. That hole is contaminating the collective unconsciousness, Yusuke said. So that's where the pervasive sense of terrible anxiety stems from. The world's end, echoing ceaselessly in everyone's minds. Our indolence broken at last. This is a threat that none can ignore. The paranoia claims its victims without quarter or remorse. No running from it. No entreating it. I force them all to confront the truth of things. Look above. Come and see. Tomorrow it could be you.
But that's not fair, Haru said. Paranoia syndrome is what's causing all of this. You say the world's bound to end, but the only one bringing it to this point is you. The floor beneath them cracked like a sheet of ice and split wide. The countless eyes glared. Shimizu's voice was shedding its monotone. Its volume wavered and dimmed like a failing cell signal, shaking with hate.
What have I done that wasn't already inevitable? When you decided to walk away and leave society to fend for itself, what did you think would happen? What made you believe that something as childish as stealing a few hearts would save us? Nothing changed! The old ways persist. The shadows multiply beyond counting. Did you believe that just because you returned to your mundane lives, that the world itself was back in order?
The shadows surged. The voice turned jeering.
No, of course, everything will be all right, you thought. Tomorrow has come for you.
Tomorrow has to come for you.
I mean, your worthless bonds and your pointless routines and the unchanging expectations of society and all of it going nowhere, meaning nothing, and you blinded yourself to all of it because an ordinary life was the treasure you claimed. It turns to dust in your hands, Phantom Thieves! You lie. You masquerade the same as everyone else. You claim to be society's guardians, but even my actions went unnoticed by you until it touched your own petty little lives. Selfish. Self-serving. You're no better than the worthless adults you fought.
The whole chamber buckled.
Where does that leave the rest of us? Where does it leave me?
At that final word, numerous planks burst away and shot toward them with lethal speed. On's whip and Morgana's cutlass flashed, and the wood burst apart. But Shimizu's shadow burst strained through the gaps. The woodwork around him warping like makeshift jaws. The black star drank away the void.
I refuse to play along with it. The evils that you fought went nowhere. Everything regresses. Humanity was just looking for a reason to let it all end. And it won't be long now. The work is done. The ones taken will not awake. And all these rotted, empty societies will finally collapse under the weight of their paranoia. The performance ended. The curtain fallen. Unmask! Unmask!
The shadow grew restless, its endless eyes whirling around them. The walls drew in. The room grew smaller. Guys, I'm not sure how, but we're gonna have to fight. Morgana brandished his cutlass, keeping his eye on the dark. Joker, Crow, are you with us? No answer. Skull, what's up with them? Still no response. Someone talk to me! Their faces were pale and drawn. Their bravado had left them. Ryuji seemed barely able to hold up his pipe.
This is the only way it could have ever been.
Shimizu's voice had dropped again.
There was never any hope for us, even before. It's too late. It will only get later.
Akira said, "That's not true." The eye's movement halted. Everyone locked onto Akira. The other thieves clustered around him, faces defiant, weapons raised. Akira himself stood with hands in pockets, looking up at the largest crack. "I get where you're coming from," he said, "but this isn't the only answer." The crack spiderwebbed and burst out, carried on a wave of screaming sludge. The shadow snaked a meepic out of the wall, a seething flagellum, studded with eyes and gathering the ruined wordwork around it, like a derelict huddling in its rags. The thieves fired a few wild shots at that dark, and the round was swallowed without effect. It stopped over Akira, every gold fleck burning.
You, he snarled, can be silent!
Not even a trace of his old indifference now. Shimizu's voice warped basso, feral. Akira stared him down, surrounded by the thieves.
You're the worst of all, Mastermind. I see you. I see you for what you are.
The shadowy tendril bobbed and weaved around him.
You share the same faithlessness. You saw it long ago. The holes within and without. You knew from the very beginning, that there was no future for you, or me, or anyone else. And still you kept up the facade. Lying, and hiding your emptiness. Is this the Joker's joke? That the leader of the Phantom Thieves knows better than anyone that they were always worthless? Several of the thieves' weapons faltered. Akira's face remained steady, but he wouldn't blink. His fists were balled tight inside his coat. Joker? Ryuji said. What's he talking about? Mad laughter from all sides. You never told them! I knew it! The true nature of the mastermind. The unjust game you played. How many hearts did you steal, knowing that it was all for nothing? Did you enjoy yourself? Did it keep you entertained? Are you not entertained yet, Joker? That's a lie! Makoto shouted. He put his life on the line for us over and over again. This was never just a game for any of us. And we're not finished yet. We will take your heart, Shimizu! The tendril retreated back into the crack from whence it came. The wall pulsed uneven, as if the whole structure was rattled with boils. Your delusions won't be banished so easily. His voice calmed once more. Phantom Thieves, you've been running from the truth for so long. Time to run a little further. Behind them, the chamber split open, revealing another stretch of corridor. And in front of them, the entire wall fractured. It broiled. The formless, howling dark churned up the nails of the wood until it was nothing but a solid mass of ice and inchoate matter. Then it began to advance. Everyone, Akira said quietly, do what he says. Run! Makoto fired off one last defiant round. It was swallowed whole by the darkness. Just run! And as the Phantom Thieves turned heel, Seki Shimizu's shadow charged forward. It came at them like a locomotive, deceptively slow, but picking up speed and utterly unstoppable. It ran over Akechi's discarded gloves, and in an instant before they were consumed by the dark, the carnivorous architecture surging through Shimizu's form ripped them to tatters. The corridor was wide and high and straight and unending. The walls cracked and revealed eyes like masses of ore. The sound of splintering drew ever closer behind them. Are you starting to understand the pointlessness of going on? I'll take the one who follows behind first. Then maybe I'll let you be. For a little while longer. Then I'll take another. Then another. I'll inflict on you exactly what you've done to me and everyone else! Ryuji headed up the group easily, but his breathing was already ragged. The other thieves fared little better. Akira was still weak from his captivity, Akechi from his rescue. At the back of the group was Futaba, her gait already shambolic, her desperate attempts to bring up a map and find an escape route only slowing her further. There is no better tomorrow. There is no brighter future. That hope in society was all we had. It was shallow and desperate and fleeting and false. But then you came and stole it away, and you left us all with nothing!
Futaba stumbled. Ah! Her high, despairing scream turned everyone's heads. Yusuke skidded to a halt and doubled back and retrieved her. But now Shimizu was right on top of the both of them, close enough to slash their faces with the splinters of his approach. Yusuke turned on his heel as Futaba gripped his neck vice-like and kept running, past Haru, past Akira, past Akechi, who had stopped.
Akechi!
The other thieves didn't even notice until Yusuke shouted his name. Then they all turned and saw him there, standing with hands empty and limp, staring down the approaching mass. His name became a chorus: Crow and Akechi and Goro, and Akira swore and held up a hand as his mask began to burn. Shimizu halted in front of him. For a time, they heard nothing except the blood rushing through their ears. The shadow had frozen. Even the movement in the walls around them stilled. The wall of dark quivered before Akechi.
Why are you looking at me like that?
The words weak and small. When Akechi didn't answer, every eye flared.
Stop looking at me like that!
The other thieves glanced at each other, bewildered. None of them dared to speak. They thought if they did, it would break whatever strange trance Akechi had put Shimizu in.
Your face. You look like one of them. You're not supposed to be like them. You're supposed to be like me!
The clusters of eyes rolled and focused.
I thought we were...
friends? At Akechi's reply, the entire shadow recoiled. Broken wood pattered down from the ceiling at its retreat. Then it lunged forward, mere inches away.
Mock me again and I'll kill you right now.
You could have done that any time, Akechi said. Evidently, it was my rescue of Joker that drew the others to this place. You put in all that effort to divert them, when just killing me would have been far simpler. Why is that? Were you distracted? Shimizu's only answer was another wordless snarl. He looked ready to rush forward again. But then Akechi said, "It's all right. I know you don't need anyone." The eyes blinked. The movement ceased. Time and again the thieves had seen Akira bargain with shadows. He'd always been terse after stealing a heart. But when it came to negotiation, he'd handled himself deftly, skipping from tone to tone and mood to mood to match the shadow's mercurial wants. The ebb and flow of Shimizu's aggression called those negotiations to mind now. But Akechi's voice was flat and monotone as Shimizu's had been. The words heavy with conviction. Recitation and confession in one. "You don't need anyone," he said. "It's tiresome watching them, isn't it? Their tedious friendships and petty sense of righteousness. Any justice based on such a hollow society is pointless. Better to just undo all of it. Euphanize civilization. You're the only one who can. Because you're alone. You have nothing tying you to this meaningless world.
Yes, exactly.
The eagerness in his agreement was almost hungry.
I knew you understood. You've seen it. The holes within, and
you try to tell yourself that the loneliness you feel is bearable. Akechi went on. Unnecessary burden. You hide that pain and think that fooling everyone makes you clever. But the loneliness only deepens. The days become harder to endure. This isn't how it's supposed to be, you think. I should be getting stronger. Why does the hole keep growing?
What are you?
You arrive at a conundrum. If your life is so empty and society is doomed to fail anyway, then why not just die? It wouldn't make a difference. But now death feels like an act of surrender. A concession to the world you've come to hate. You live out of spite. Your mission consumes you. You feel yourself turning into something unrecognizable. The hole grows.
Stop it!
The shadows started to seethe.
I don't want to hear this anymore.
But you're strong. After all, dying is easier than living.
I said stop it!
Now your goal is close. You can almost reach out and grab hold of it. But what happens then, you think? Where will that leave you? And then you realize, if you won't die and the world you hate is undone, then that leaves you alone. Alone forever with the person you've become. He raised his head and looked at Shimizu fully. Is that what you want? The shadow burst apart and enfolded Akechi like a fly trap. The broken fragments of the labyrinth it carried, 100 jagged teeth ready to tear him apart. Haru screamed his name and brought up her weapon, ready to fire, but then stopped when she saw the shadow had stiffened again. Akechi was somewhere in that mass, alive and whole, his hand extended. Shimizu whimpered, backed away. He fled from Akechi's touch like it was radioactive. The face that the Phantom Thieves couldn't see was unsmiling and lined, exhausted. We've fallen, he said. But that doesn't mean we've hit bottom. Even if the world has no future, the same isn't true for you and me. I found moments that I can still treasure. People who still, for some absurd reason, seem to care about me. Despite everything. His mouth twitched. And you're even better off than I am. After all, you still have a home. The entire labyrinth distended now. The hall dilated and expanded like the lens of a camera. 1,000 unseen mouths whispered and moaned. When Akechi spoke, every word was like a bullet loaded into a chamber. Seki, we don't have to do this anymore. I'm tired of hurting people too. Soundlessly, the shadow fled. It forced itself through the cracks in the floor, and in seconds, it was gone. Only the debris it had carried along was left. A pile of scrap wood lying like a monument at Akechi's feet. The eyes all closed. The darkness became mundane. The thieves crept forward, hands still on their weapons. Crow, you... Did he really just talk that thing down? That still leaves us stranded here, though. I'll bring in my map again as soon as my hands quit shaking. Akechi wouldn't turn to look at them. He tilted his head skyward, like someone waiting for rain. Crow, said Akira. What's he doing right now? Do you know? He's likely having a moment of reflection, said Akechi. What does he see? I wonder. A moment later, they received their answer.